And question number one when it comes to the Mavericks. The return of Maxi Kleber will help this defense, which is in the bottom third right now in defensive rating in the NBA. We're talking about a team that's around 24, 25 in terms of NBA defensive rating. With the return of Maxi Kleber, this team can get to a middle point. They can get to about 15, 16 over the final 22 games of the regular season.
Yeah, no, I'm not seeing that, brother. But you already know I've been fairly skeptical about the idea that the only thing that's not wrong with this defense is Maxi Kleber is not playing, because they currently sit 23rd in defensive rating.
Okay.
And the difference between that and, well, look, the difference between that and 15 is about a point per 100 possessions. So I guess maybe. You know what? I'll turn it around.
Oh.
They can get to middling.
Okay.
But actually, sorry, that's 2 points. But they get to like middling. I could see somewhere around 17. And that could be a recipe for success, right? Like some level of middling, but you have to be on it offensively, brother. You got to be top 5 offensively. And with the addition of Kyrie Irving, maybe if everything is knocked down, with everything going right, you can get into a good place where your offense is going. But yeah, I could see it where it possibly gets better. Also, I got to remember where I can find their remaining strength of schedule. I believe
we are doing the exact same thing.
I think Tankathon has that.
I believe it's the easiest, if not the second easiest, remaining schedule in the NBA.
Yeah, so that could be very helpful.
In fact, it is the easiest remaining schedule.
There you
the
go.
Combined win percentage of their final 22 games and their opponents, 466. So they have a chance, especially with this 6-game homestand that they will engage in starting tomorrow against opponents that aren't necessarily very good, to maybe make up some of that defensive rating. And as you mentioned, the key is not necessarily the defense, but offensively, how good can you be to even have a defense that's in the middle of the NBA with the return of Maxi Kleber and how quickly he's able to get himself reacclimated to this team?
The answer has to be really
darn
yes. Good.
Yes.
I almost cussed.
Yes.
Can I respond to this? Because people have been texting this in over the last month, and it's getting on my nerves. From the 214, there's no defense in the NBA. Shut up. That's as nice as I can do it. Shut up. Because this is the thing, right? There's so much defense in the NBA. It's something that like folks don't consider. Like, everybody can do something to your defense at any given time. Teams are always looking for weak points and attacking them constantly. The level of activity and strength and speed that's on the court very much differs from the 90s. And I'm not trying to like disparage the 90s, because people talk about like the hard fouls and the intensity in that way, and they try and make it we're like, oh man, the defense was so much better. It actually isn't. Like, it's just there's so many better players now that are all like efficiently attacking defenses constantly, right? It's not even like intermittently, constantly attacking defenses. The feelings in the places in which you go, oh man, they're not good at defense, is usually just because it takes so much to remain at the defensive level to not allow these things to happen. And again, offenses are constantly attacking entire teams, right? Think about it from this way. The ways in which Steph Curry plays, you're not going to embarrass an individual player. Like, you compare it to what like Dak Prescott. How the hell did I get there? You compare that to what like Shaquille O'Neal would do to like a single player, where he would just body you individually over and over and over. The game breakers of this era don't do that with an individual player. They just break down entire teams, which means the entire team is defending.
Yes.
And that's like, guys are having to do that, right? Like, as an entire team concept, you have to play defense. Are there individuals that, take plays off or whatever? Yeah. And that's in part because it's just so damn tiring when you also consider the offense. Plus the pace is up. All of this. Like, there's a lot of things to consider in this. So it really is lazy to just say there's no defense in the NBA. There's obviously like a spectrum. There's definitely some teams that don't play as good of defense. Hello, Dallas Mavericks. But Defense is hard as hell in this league, man, and I think you need to give them some level of credit for that. Sorry, I took away from your burning questions back.
No. That's great explanation when it comes to how defense, especially in today's NBA, looks, because in a lot of ways people see scores of 110, 120, 130 on a nightly basis and think there's not a lick of defense played. The amount of offensive skill level in today's NBA is at its all-time peak based on offensive efficiency, the ability on how teams have bent the math when it comes to shooting the amount of threes that they do. There's a lot of things that you could point to and why offense is the way that it is and why defense may look not nearly as good as it may have looked in the past. But
Luka is not the slowest player in the league. And part of the reason why he breaks down defense is, one, because he's really good, two, because he has the right match of size and quickness and intelligence to get to the right places. He's faster than any big that has the right strength to be able to stop him.
Let's look at big as hell.
He's stronger than all of the guards that are fast enough to try and stop him. So he has that right mix. Again, you are wrong. It's fine. But like, you just want to say that this thing is bad when it is not.
Which gets me to burning question number 2. Speaking of Luka Doncic and the offense, Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving will be the highest scoring duo in the final 22 games of the regular season in the NBA.
One more time for me.
Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving will be the highest scoring duo in the league.
Agree.
In the final 22 games of the season.
Agree. I'm there with you. Yeah.
I mean,
because we're taking Luka Doncic and the ways in which he's had to have the individual usage, and you're adding, and it's not this simple, right? There's different complexities to it. But let's say you're taking Luka Doncic, not really changing his game that much, right? Like, worst case scenario, Luka Doncic plays the same game, and now you're just adding the off-ball gravity and cutting of Kyrie Irving. That becomes insane in and of itself. Those two things are going to be killer. And some of that is necessity. Who are your two best players? Those guys. Who's the next closest? Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter, right? Like, that's what we're dealing with right now. So yeah, I can easily see them too putting in buckets in that way. And I know that, again, that's really an oversimplification, because one of the things that Kyrie Irving has done early on is come into a place where he's like, look, I don't want to force the ball over here. The ball, this needs to be a more natural movement of the ball all the way around the offense and all those things. But yes, that's a good one. Great counterpoint though, if you want to make a counterpoint from the 2-1-4 Booker and Durant.
Oh boy.
And the thing that's going to help that out is, right, if you want to have Chris Paul will run the offense.
Yes.
And it's great for him because he has been in a place as a player where he has been deferring the ball more and more, which is a problem if he's one of your two best players. It is not a problem if he is now your third or fourth best player.
At least your third best player. Right?
Because now he could just be in that, pass the ball and occasionally look for his own shot, because now you're passing the ball to one of the best players, like one of the 3-4 best players in the world, and Kevin
two of
Durant,
the best mid-range shooters in the game today.
And if DeAndre Ayton decides to be aggressive when, in the instances that he is, now you also have that. Just defenses have to pick their poison, and it's a whole bunch of poison.
Yeah.
It's a whole bunch of poison. So that's fair. But I also think because you have that many people, it might not be in that same place. I think it's like, look, it's Luka and Kyrie, and we going.
And that's what you're going to have to roll with. Think about what Luka Doncic is doing from a numbers perspective real quick. Playing nearly 37 minutes per game. He's played 50 games this year, averaging over 33 points per game, shooting over 50% from the field, and shooting 35% from three, while still averaging nearly 9 rebounds and over 8 assists per game and nearly 2 steals per game. So Luka has just put up insane numbers. Now you add Kyrie Irving to this, and he's averaging, in 37 minutes a game this year, 27 points per game. So right now, the Mavericks literally have the number 1 and number 10 players when it comes to scoring in the NBA right now, with Luka averaging over 33 points, Kyrie Irving getting you 27. So off rip, that's 60 already a night between just those two alone. Hello, Christian Wood, and what you can possibly add to this when it comes to the 18, 19 points a game that you can bring.
Don't forget JaVale McGee.
What are you doing?
Having fun.
What are you doing?
Enjoying myself. I done already yelled at the people. I feel bad. I legitimately yelled at the people.
You did.
I feel bad.
So and you let it shut up too.
I know.
Yeah, you're doing a whole lot for what we just achieved. Like, relax. Jeez.
Yeah, I feel bad. Not bad enough to take it back, but I do feel bad.
Finally, burning question number 3. The Mavericks ultimately, Reginald Atatula, will finish as a top 4 seed in the Western Conference. Ultimately, the Mavericks will finish as a top 4 seed and have home court advantage in the first round of the Western Conference playoffs.
All right. Denver's going to stay up there. Memphis is there. I think they're so far ahead, they're fine. Sacramento was still a good playing team. The Suns have gotten all these good pieces. I feel like they had been climbing anyways. I think they remain above. And then it's like, who is there one more team that will get above them? This is tough. I say no. I think that within the context of either the Kings or the Clippers will remain ahead of the Mavericks.
So let me help you out with that. So the Clippers have the second toughest schedule remaining in their final 21 games. Their combined opponents' win percentage is .523.
That's tough.
Sacramento has the fourth toughest schedule. They have a combined win percentage of their opponents with 25 games left of .520. Phoenix also has the sixth toughest schedule. Their combined opponents' win percentage is .517.
Sure.
So you're thinking about some of the teams that are in front of them. There's opportunities for the Mavericks to maybe take advantage of some of that, given the amount of opponents or the tough opponents that these teams in front of them have, and the Mavericks having literally the easiest schedule remaining this season.
And that's absolutely fair. And again, the Mavs easily could get there. My thing about it, though, is that you've got the Phoenix Suns who have put together this team. And so that is a team that's going to be striving to put these things together, right? Like, nobody is coasting into the end of the season here. They're striving to try and make sure that they get this thing together over the last 20 games. The Clippers, as they are actually getting guys healthy and trying to get towards the end of the season, they will be putting some things together. The Sacramento Kings will just be trying hard. So, like, with those things combined, and then also the leads that they do have, like the Kings have a 2.5 game lead on the Mavs. I think with all those things combined, again, the Mavs have the opportunity to go up and get home court. I personally wouldn't bet on it with all of those factors combined. But you're right. The Mavs do have an easier strength of schedule. I think they also have some things to figure out along those ways. And I'm not certain. I do think that they have a better opportunity to close out games now. But I also have still seen those issues closing out games from time to time. And I'm against good and not so good teams. I don't know that I'm willing to say all of those things come together in a way where the Mavs jump over 2-3 of those teams.
Well, the Mavericks will have their chances because they have a game left against Sacramento and a game left against the Phoenix Suns to maybe make up some ground there during the final 22 games of the regular season. Ultimately, I do think they finish outside the top 4 of the Western Conference.
You see, you was giving me all this easiest schedule, so you don't even believe it either.
Well, again, we have to take into account now that Kevin Durant is coming very soon for the Phoenix Suns.
You said that like he's the Night King.
What they traded away to go get him, they think so too in Phoenix. So I'm sure they feel the same way based on what all they gave up. But I do think Sacramento takes a step back during the final, 20 or so games for them. I'm so fascinated by what the Clippers are deciding to do with Russell Westbrook here. Because moving on from Reggie Jackson and obviously getting a John Wall who didn't really do much there anyway, but now inserting Russell Westbrook to your second unit to go along with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, how healthy do they remain through the final 20-some-odd games of the season?
And does Paul George turn it on? Because last year he was looking like,
yes,
he all that playoff P stuff went out the window because he was hooping. This year, not so much just yet. Maybe he turns it up, and then maybe Kawhi actually ends up being some of the better versions of himself because he's had a little bit of a so-so season, of course, with all the start and stops due to load management injuries, things of the sort.
I do think the Mavericks still avoid the play-in.
Oh yeah, that one I feel.
I think I feel good about that when they avoid the play-in because you have New Orleans, Minnesota, Golden State, and the Thunder in the 7 through 10 spots, and the Mavericks still have a game, and they have another game against the New Orleans Pelicans as well to help out some of that there.
Now the Pelicans could get interesting if they actually have Zion healthy. Problem is,
can't bank on that.
Yeah.